So, picking the right AWS EC2 instance, it can feel like you're lost in the maze, right? With literally hundreds of options, it is so easy to get overwhelmed. Well, in this explainer, we're going to give you the map to find the absolute perfect instance for your application every single time and hopefully save you some time and money along the way. You know that feeling? You're staring at the AWS console, scrolling through this just seemingly endless list of names like M7G.large or X2IDN.16Xlarge, and you just feel completely lost. It's a massive menu, and honestly, it can be paralyzing. But trust me, you are not alone.
And look, this isn't just some academic exercise. Picking the wrong instance has very real consequences. You end up either burning cash on power you don't need, or, even worse, you cheap out and your app slows to a crawl, creating a terrible experience for your users.
But here's the secret. What if I told you there's a decoder ring hidden right inside the name of every single instance? Yeah, once you understand this simple pattern, that entire confusing list suddenly starts to make a whole lot of sense. Okay, so first up is the family letter. I want you to think of this like picking a tool from a toolbox. The C here stands for compute optimized, which means it's a powerhouse for tasks that need a lot of CPU muscle. Other families you'll see are M for general purpose, R for memory-heavy stuff, and so on. That one letter tells you its main job. All right, next up, the generation number. And this one's super simple. Higher is always better. A 7th generation instance is newer, it's more powerful, and it almost always has a better price-to-performance ratio than a 6th gen one. It's a golden rule, really. Always, always go for the latest generation. Okay, after the number, you'll sometimes see another letter. This is the feature letter, and it tells you about special hardware. The G here is a big one. It means the instance is running on AWS's own custom-built ARM-based Graviton processor. And we're going to circle back to why that little G is such a big deal in just a minute. And last but not least, you've got the size, like large, X-large, or 2X large. So you picked your tool, the family, and now this is just how you decide if you need the small, medium, or large version of it. As you go up in size, you get more CPU, more memory, and more network bandwidth. Simple as that.
Okay, so now that we can actually read the names, where do we start? Well, for most applications out there, your journey is going to begin with the general purpose instances. Let's dig into how these can build the foundation for your project.
So, inside this general purpose toolbox, you've basically got two main choices. You have the T-Series, which offers what's called burstable performance. It's really cheap, but it kind of putters along at a baseline CPU level and saves up these credits. Then, when traffic spikes, it can burst and use those credits to handle the load. The M-Series, on the other hand, gives you fixed, consistent performance all the time. Think of it as a sprinter versus a marathon runner.
And this chart, it just shows it perfectly. See that spiky, unpredictable workload on the left? That is a perfect fit for a T-Series, maybe a dev server or a low-traffic block. But that steady, high-traffic workload on the right, like a production web server, for that, you absolutely need the reliable flatline performance of an M-Series.
All right, this is super important. This is the pro tip you really need to lock in. If you're running a T-Series instance and you see in your metrics that its CPU usage is consistently high, you're just burning through all your burst credits and you're about to hit a wall. Your performance is going to get throttled hard. That's your cue to upgrade to an M-Series for that stable performance.
But what happens when a general-purpose tool just isn't the right fit? What if your application has a really specific need? That's when we open up the specialized drawers in our toolbox, each one designed to solve a very specific performance bottleneck. Let's find the right tool for your job.
So, take a second and really think about your own application. What's the main thing holding it back? Is it constantly struggling with complex calculations? Is it running out of memory all the time? Or is it just sitting there, waiting on the disk? The answer to that question tells you exactly which instance family you need to look at next. So if your app is constantly redlining the processor, we call that being CPU bound, then the C-Series is your answer. These instances pack a ton of vCPU power relative to their memory, making them absolutely perfect for things like heavy-duty video encoding, scientific modeling, or serving just massive amounts of web traffic. And hey, remember that little G for Graviton we talked about? This is why it's a huge deal. For a ton of workloads, just choosing a Graviton instance can give you up to a 40% better price for performance. Seriously, unless you have a very specific reason you need x86, you should always try Graviton first. It can be an absolute game changer for your cloud bill. Okay, but what if the CPU is fine and your app is just eating up all the RAM?
If you're running things like in-memory databases like Redis or huge relational databases and big data analytics platforms, you need a memory-optimized instance. The R and X series give you a massive amount of RAM for every vCPU, letting your app keep all its important data right there in memory, ready to go in an instant.
And for our last major bottleneck, what if your app is just waiting around for the disk to catch up? This is when you need a storage-optimized instance. The I series gives you these insanely fast local NVMe SSDs, perfect for workloads that need millions of operations per second, like NoSQL databases. Then you have the D series, which is all about massive, dense, and cheap HDD storage for things like data warehousing, where you just need to store huge amounts of data.
All right, we've cracked the code on the names, we've peeked into all the different toolboxes. Now let's put it all together into a simple, step-by-step plan you can use every single time you need to launch a new instance.
Here it is, your 4-step playbook. Step 1, figure out your bottleneck. And if you're not sure, just start with the general-purpose M series. Step 2, always, and I mean always, pick the latest generation. Step 3, graviton first. Look for that G and test it out for that incredible price-performance boost. And finally, step 4, right size and test. This is key. Start with something that seems reasonable. Watch your metrics and only scale up if the data tells you to. Don't guess, measure.
So there you have it. Choosing an EC2 instance isn't this big, scary mystery anymore, is it? It's just a logical process. By understanding the name, identifying your bottleneck, and following a few simple rules, you can make sure your application is both cost-effective and super high-performing. Now that you have the power to perfectly optimize your stack, the only question is, what amazing thing are you going to build next?